Zhuang Zi, one of the two foundational texts of Taoism, translated by James Legge and read by Angus Cargill. The Seal of Virtue Complete. And what do you mean by the realization of these powers not being manifested in the person? Pursued further the Duke. The reply was, there is nothing so level as the surface of a pool of still water. It may serve as an example of what I mean. All within its circuit is preserved in peace, and there comes to it no agitation from without. The virtuous efficacy is the perfect cultivation of the harmony of the nature. Through the realization of this be not manifested in the person, things cannot separate themselves from its influence. Some days afterwards, Duke I told this conversation to Min Tzu, saying, Formerly it seemed to me the work of the sovereign to stand in court with his face to the south, to rule the kingdom, and to pay good heed to the accounts of the people concerned, lest any should come to a miserable death. This I considered to be the sum of his duty. Now that I have heard that description of the perfect man, I fear that my idea is not the real one, and that by employing myself too lightly, I may cause the ruin of my state. I and Chuang Tzŭ are not on the footing of ruler and subject, but on that of a virtuous friendship. 5. A person who had no lips, whose legs were bent so that he could only walk on his toes, and who was otherwise deformed, addressed his counsels to Duke Ling of Wei, who was so pleased with him that he looked on a perfectly formed man as having a lean and small neck in comparison with him. Another, who had a large goiter like an earthenware jar, addressed his counsels to Duke Huan of Qi, who was so pleased with him that he looked on a perfectly formed man as having a neck lean and small in comparison with him. So it is that when one's virtue is extraordinary, any deficiency in his bodily form may be forgotten. When men do not forget what is easily forgotten, and forget what is not easily forgotten, we have a case of real oblivion. Therefore, the sagely man has that in which his mind finds its enjoyment, and looks on wisdom as but the shoots from an old stump. Agreements with others are to him but so much glue. Kindnesses are but the arts of intercourse, and great skill is but as merchants' wares. The sagely man lays no plans. Of what use would wisdom be to him? He has no cutting and hacking to do. Of what use would glue be to him? He has lost nothing. Of what use would arts of intercourse be to him? He has no goods to dispose of. What need has he to play the merchant? The want of these four things are the nourishment of his heavenly nature. That nourishment is its heavenly food. Since he receives this food from heaven, what need has he for anything of man's devising? He has the bodily form of man, but not the passions and desires of other men. He has the form of man, and therefore he is a man. Being without the passions and desires of men, their approvings and disapprovings are not to be found in him. How insignificant and small is the body by which he belongs to humanity! How grand and great is he in the unique perfection of his heavenly nature!